الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
ومن سيئات أعمالنا ما يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم أما بعد فأصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نوديت للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون وإذا رأيت تجارة أو لهوا إن انفضوا إليها وتركوك قائما قل ما عند الله خير من اللهو ومن التجارة والله خير الرازقين صدق الله العظيم. All those who have iman, whenever called for salat in the day of Jummah comes, rest the remembrance of Allah and leave behind your trades. ذَلِكُمْ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. That is indeed better for you if you only knew. وَإِذَا قُضِيَتِ الصَّلَاةِ فَانْتَشِرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ. And then we have completed the salat, you complete your salat, and you go spread in the earth, look from the bounties of Allah, min fadlillah, from the excellence that Allah has places in the earth. And remember Allah a lot then. Remember what you will gain in your salat and take it with you, and remember Allah kathira la'alakum tuflihun, because the true victory can only come if you remember Allah as you move from the rituals to to your daily life. وَإِذَا رَأَيْتُمْ تِجَارَةً لَنْ فَضُوا إِلَيْهَا وَتَرَكُوكَ قَائِمًا. And then when it's over, when leaving behind trades and lahu, things of joys and plays and of the dunya have become difficult and hard to do, and not letting say it out loud, مَا إِنَّ اللَّهِ خَيْرٌ مِنَ اللَّهِ وَمِنَ التِّجَارَةِ. What is with Allah is better than whatever it is that I was trying to hold on to. From the lahu min al-tijara, from work, and from all these other things that I'm supposed to do. Wallahu khairur raziqin, and Allah is the best of provisions. That is the essence of Surah Al-Jumu'ah, and it comes at the end of the conversation. What's unique about surahs is that some surahs have nicknames. Some surahs have nicknames that stays, and some that made it into like sometimes comes into a different version, and it's like, oh, this surah is Surah Al-Ghafir, but then you look for, depending when you find it from, and then it's like you can't find Surah Al-Ghafir. You find Alif Lam Sajda, right? It's very rare that it comes like that. But and most times, like in our Mus'haf, the name of the surah tends to be the same. And the last time I was here 2-3 weeks ago, we talked about why Baqarah is called Baqarah. Like why is Fatiha is called Fatiha. And it brought in a whole conversation, just to quick 5-second recaps. The Fatiha is the opening of the surah, of the opening of the Quran. We use that to remind ourselves that Alhamdulillah is first. That Allah is the greatest. That is like, that looking into Quran is like you first start with gratitude. And you stick with guidance. And if I want to add something from last week that if you have here and you heard it, this is a repeat. Al-Fatiha is also a conversation of learning how to speak to Allah, right? It's like because there are conversation about glorifying Him and who He is, and Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim, Maliki Yawmiddin, and then we ask what we needed, Ihdina Siratal Mustaqim at the end, and then to know what that sirat is supposed to look like. Since we're talking about Siratal Mustaqim, let's talk about that for very quickly. Isn't it interesting that the word Sirat al-Mustaqim is a path? It's not a destination. It's not a place. It reminds me of another surah in the back, in this different surah in the Quran that said, Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmah wal maw'idatin hasana. Call, invite toward the path of your Lord with wisdom and the best way of a speech, like maw'idatan hasana, the best way you can remind them. Call toward the path of Allah. Invitations, by definition, is something you invite someone that you care about, that you love. It's invitation, i.e. da'wah, doesn't come from a place of anger. Da'wah doesn't come from a place of, come over here now, let's go. Come to my house and eat and have vacation. And have invitation for you to come and visit my house. You don't do that to somebody you hate. You don't do that to somebody who you don't like, right? Invitation comes from a source of love, or at least like something you want to get to know, curiosity. It's like, I trust this person. There's a bond of trust. There's a bond of love. There's a kind of feelings. So da'wah, by definition, cannot become from a place of anger, of superiority, of saying like, oh, you don't know what you're doing, come over here, come, I'll teach you what it is. Nobody want to accept invitation like that, first and foremost. And second, the invitation is not to Jannah, it's not even to Allah, it's wadu ila sabili rabbik, to the path of Allah, to the path of God. If I were to say, come through to my house, that's a destination. Come through to the masjid, that's a destination, that's a place. But this here is like saying like, come through 495 highway. I invite you to 495 highway. How does that work? How does that work? I invite you to Pennsylvania Avenues. I invite you to like 95 north. Like where? Just somewhere 95. As long as you go north. What is the wisdom in that? There's a hikmah is that it tells you that we are not asking people to show their result. We are not asking to get people to get to a place. Like, okay, I got to give you da'wah today. Tomorrow, you need to memorize Quran already. What is wrong with you? Well, like, why are you not Muslim yet? You've been with, like, why are you not saying Shahada yet? Like, we use that as some kind of tool of righteousness. What does that tell us is that people can take their time. Once they can their time, because what does that mean on the way? You notice this a lot as I'm giving khutbahs, right? It's like, where are you now, brother? I'm on the way. And the way can literally mean like I'm almost there, or I just left, right? And so when the path of Allah, the fi sabili rabbika, what does that look like? It can literally be you've been spending 10 years of your life moving in a slow pace, and you're barely able to make it out to the right path because you keep falling back. I keep falling back. Every time I want to know where I'm supposed to go, this is what Allah asked me to do, and I fall back down, I get turned around, I got lost, I got distracted, but I'm doing my best. And that is on my way towards Sirat al-Mustaqim. But there's others who just accepted Islam maybe a couple months ago, and then they're leaps and bounds. They're already like 200 miles ahead of me. But that's what's amazing about the ayah. The ayah does not tell you that how long you need to get there, or how far did you made it, or even anything about like any quantifiable things that we like as a human being. We like results so much. It's like when you put that in resume, we put like about the things that we did and the things that we have done completed. They don't talk about the things that we failed at, the things that we worked so hard and didn't work out. We don't put that in the resumes. Or the things that we worked so hard and it's like this is the sleepless night and it didn't work out. But I can't put that in a resume. So then what do? Cross this gap in between. Just work my way around it, because the people doesn't like gaps in resumes, right? Or even people who graduated from schools in general, from universities, or even there's we don't talk about all the struggles that we have to do, because all they care about is where did you graduate from, brother? Like where did you study at? Right? Nobody want to say like, actually I tried to go to this university and that failed, and I couldn't study on my own, and it's like nobody care about that. They just want to know, where did you learn this? I want to see that credential. I want to see that paper. That's what we care about as a human being, results. But when Allah is teaching us when it comes to da'wah, the result is not the thing. Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmah wal mawidatil hasana, with the wisdom and the best way you can do it, in the best position, in the best form that you can do. Like in a hasana, like ihsan, the excellence of giving it that. What does that look like? It looks like you show people a path that they can walk on their own. The capacity to move forward, to do what's right, is already been instilled within our hearts. Isn't that so? And it's something that's in the fitrah. We believe that every human being is born with a fitrah, right? And then we just simply like, here's what your fitrah will acknowledge. Come through the Sirat al-Mustaqim. This is what it looks like. Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim. Let's say Amin together, regardless of where you are in the path. But let's move forward to where we want to be. And that brought a whole different conversation. It brought in as if like we are in this together. And then when we invite people that we care about to join us, we don't expect them to run the same pace that we do. It changes the conversation when the young, mashallah, brothers, tend to be brothers most of the time, and they were some sisters who've been living in the wrong path for so long, and they found deen, and they turn around, and they change their life, and suddenly everything become extreme, and he wants everybody to be the same. It's like, brother, I've been working on this for so long. I've been talking to my families to worship the deen and follow the deen properly, and then they stick in the culture, but like, yeah, akhi, it doesn't work like that. You show them the path, where to go. If we can't be upset on someone, like you gotta be in 395 North, and you're standing around the whole 395, just like, you gotta move faster. Because you don't give a person a destination, you don't give it a place. It's a road, it's a path, and that's what the deen is. The deen is a path, it's a lifestyle, it's a change. That is important, and it's wide, and it's merciful, right? We learn that from Fatiha, from the Ihdina Sirat al-Mustaqim. And inshallah, there'll be more occasions for that. And then we talked about Baqarah last time. So now let's talk about Jummah then. Because we were talking about path, that means they have to be, by necessity, roads require pit stops, right? Buses have bus stops. Cars, we have our gas station that we stop for a second. If we're going on a long road, especially, Ihdina sirat al-mustaqim, as-sirat al-mustaqim, the only path that is straight and through. What does that look like? Is that like really high from here to the sky? There's no way. How do you climb that? And it was so difficult that we asked Allah, Ya Allah, help us, just like you favor the people you love. Help us get through this path that really seems very hard. There's no other way forward except up to you. And then what do you do when we're in traveling and we have fatigues, right? We stop somewhere to remind ourselves, what are we here for? That is the functions of these days, that is barakah, the mubarakah like Jummah. This functioning for like Jummah reminded us that the path is worth going forward. That the path is worth it. That even though it's been so long, you've been stuck in the same stages for so long. Now, memorize the 3-4 surahs that we use for salat, that we use it often, and sometimes we don't even recognize if we actually read it or not, as long as we get it done. We make salats like quickly, bismillah, bismillah, and then we just move so fast that we make joke about it, right? Like Ferrari styles and what have you. And on Jummah, for once, you're supposed to reflect. Take a second. Like, how is our salat supposed to look like? Like, I don't think you have ever seen if somebody give a really excellent khutbah and it was time for salat, the imams, Allahu Akbar, so alhamdulillah, nobody do that. You don't hear that in Jummahs. You hear that in Ramadan for specific, strange reasons that we want to finish the certain chapters and what have you. And it changes the conversation from a path into a goal, right? But when Jummah, we pray normally. Nobody comes around saying like, brother, you read that Ameen out loud. You're not supposed to do that. Put your feet right here. That conversation happened maybe outside of Jummah and before, but in the salat itself, we are uniform. And within khutbahs itself, we're able to sit still for a second and let someone else talk. But even when you disagree with everything that I said, you're not going to stand up saying like, haram alaik. Nobody going to do that. Unless it's something like really, really outrageous, right? And I'm hitting the mark in emotions, what have you. So we learn the adab and how we're supposed to behave with another Muslims, with each other. The Jummah becomes something else. And then for some of us, Jummah is the only time that we're able to tie that knot of deen once again. Because we're so busy with the responsibility of life that it's very difficult to get to the masjid. But somehow, Jummah, we made it. And that is something to be cherished, not to be shamed. Because we're able to come to Jummah. That is powerful. And then what's next is up to you in your path. What does that look like? Does that mean I'm staying just for a little bit for Asr? Or does that mean I'm going to come back tomorrow around the same time when no one's around? Or does that mean maybe perhaps I'm just going to sit down a couple minutes early when no one's around and just make dua, alhamdulillah, I made it here? Or maybe just being more honest with your boss instead of saying I'm taking a long lunch, I'm actually have to go to worship God. And that's another steps, depends on who you are and where you are. That's what ud'u ila sabili rabbika looks like. Invite to the path of Allah. Give the da'wah that doesn't look like an archaic way of we are superior than you, come enter the deen. Shahada now. Change your name now. It's not like that. Anyway, within Jummah, we learn something. We learn a community. We learn a jama'ah. We learn that this deen doesn't have to be get through alone. That we have a village of believers from different walk of life. That when we have to, when Allah has ordered us to do something, that we can come together. And we can follow the format. We can follow the ritual as they are prescribed. And then how does that look like as a community outside of Jummah? That's a conversation that we need to have outside of that, not in the khutbah. But, Ya ayyuhalladina amanu, like those who have iman, coming to Jummah is better for you if you only knew. Have you ever wondered about all those random Jummahs that the khatib show up late, or you showed up late, and you barely made it for salat? And all those Jummahs that you show up early and the khatib just really, really irrelevant. Reading from a text that's like, it's time for wudu. This is how wudu look like. And then, something tragic just happened. Like a legend has died and here you're talking about wudu, for example. I remember when Muhammad Ali died. And then I went to a Jummah khutbah somewhere nearby my work. And then I just come back from Kentucky, and how strange the Muslims are when it comes to organizers, and everybody oh, this is very awkward. Like everybody come through, and it was just, such a legend shouldn't be like this. Like nobody know how to do, who was gonna lead, what's gonna happen for the salats, and it was interesting and how that dynamic, and the people that were there were talking about it. And then we stopped by to salat, and it was in Kentucky, and they talk about its wudu. Like you just saw, that was just yesterday. It was just yesterday that, anyhow. So, and you realize that, how do you feel about that? Or some Jummahs that come through and it's like, you know what, I don't listen to what he's talking about. Mashallah, some of our teachers are talking about the death of legends, like Kobe Bryant, how it affected people, and how his excellence and drive and forces in people. Like for some of the old school khatibs, or some of the old school people who come to khutbah listen to taqwa, like, what does this have to do with taqwa? And you tune out, right? Or somehow or another, like even though you linked it, somebody speaks really well, and then when it comes to salat, they make a mistake in their salat. Instead kul huwallahu ahad, they say kul, they get stuck. It's like, how can this person forget kul huwallahu ahad? And then you completely forgot about the conversation. Have you ever wondered those Jummahs that feel like a fitna? Why was that? Why is it good for me? Because it's reminding you that there is something to offer, that you recognizing a problem is good. Because maybe a community needed you there. Maybe we can find some ways from Maw'idat al-Hasana, from Hikmah wal Maw'idat al-Hasana, perhaps to remind people hey, we're in the path for a minute. Jummah has been going on for as long as I remember. And people have been calling to the path. But what can we learn from mistakes? What can we learn from boring khutbahs? What can we learn from Khatib show up late? What can we learn about different situations when things have to go to the second, third tiers and backup plan B, C, and D? What can I learn from showing up, and what can I get? What do I do next then? And then Allah, with His infinite reminders, every Jummah come back. And then we were tasked once again to try to make it back to the community. We were tasked, wherever you are, as a men who are supposed to be, you're supposed to be ar-rijal fi din. You are supposed to be the men who help the deens. Being reminded again to come back to Jummah. Even when it's difficult, even when it's work, even when we find a new job, you find you know what, it's been a minute I haven't been in Jummah. I gotta come back to Jummah. I gotta find some Jummah that matters. I gotta find some places that make me feel like I'm alive, like this deens, something I can carry. That's amazing. That when you find that, mashallah, and you find that moment, it can move forward. It propelled us forward. The idea was, so when the bigger pit stop comes along, whether it's a tragedy, whether it's trials, whether it's fitna, or whether it's a beautiful thing that happens in our life, from that we are able to take a moment, you know what, I was able to get all my stuff ready for this journey. Salat was supposed to be that on its own. Salat was supposed to be a reminder, and the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ understood that when it comes, the salat is his conversation with Allah. He was able to talk to Allah because he recognized that the salat was something that was given to him when he was in his lowest depressed moment, like when he was in the year of sorrow, when he lost his beloveds, his wife, and he lost his support and system, and he found that Allah was still always there. You lost pillars that you can lean on, Allah's there. And he recognized it. And every time, salat to him is something that he can talk back to Allah, using Allah's word, quoting Allah verbatimly back. Sometimes we forgot that salat matters outside of Jummahs. Sometimes maybe we fall short, whether we combine or we don't, or we wake up late, whether we fix it or we're not. No shames on that. We make mistakes. But then what happened? We're trying to be better. So Allah recognized the salat. Sometimes you can't remember the path forward of fi sabilillah in salat, in just random salat. So then Allah's like, okay, here's Jummah. That doesn't work? And sometimes you recognize people say, okay, you know what about Ramadan then? And in the Ramadan, things changed again. And then instead of recognizing that these are the signs of Allah, inviting people back to the path, we get judgy. We get judgy and become strange because in Surah in Surah An-Najm, there's an idea of like, they are like, have you seen the people who turn away from my path? The one who give a little and stop, and saying that's enough. Do they know something in the unseen of a result that do you know the result of the unseen in Surah An-Najm? And one of the reasons behind that is Allah, because there's this assumption and there's two extreme. A person who believes that, if I do something good now, at least I'm not those people who are doing that bad. But if we remember that the path is not a result, then we recognize how good is your good and how bad is their bad. You have no idea what the scale of result of who is actually passing or not, because the trial is fitted specifically for you. The question is not whether you are able to memorize the Quran or whether you make it to Jummah or make it to Salat. Did you try your utmost effort as the best that you can to do what Allah asked you to? And that changes the conversation. It changes from expecting others to reach to your level, or whatever that illusion of levels are, but into more like, you know what? I have some work to do. And make dua for this time or accept it. May Allah forgive us in our time, and find opportunities to ask Allah for forgiveness and for His mercy and His blessing. The break between the khutbah is one of them. For make that as we can. Bismillahi wa kafa wa salamun ala Sayyidina Muhammad al-Mustafa. Since we talk about Surah Al-Jummah, in the beginning of Surah Al-Jummah, it talks about 4 names of Allah, and I don't think we have time to talk about that. And he mentioned about how he linked to the Prophet, that each name of Allah, Al-Malik, Al-Qudus, Al-Aziz, Al-Hakim, has been given back to the Messenger of Allah, and the messengers of Allah carry out what he could the best way that he can. And then in some of the verses, then do not become like those donkeys who are carrying books of wisdom on their back, meaning that it doesn't benefit them. All they have is knowledge, but no wisdom. All they have is knowledge that they can recite and write, and I can pull out this dalil, I can pull out that dalil, and then somehow you believe that Allah will save you. The Surah Al-Jummah is very powerful in the sense of recalibrate. What does that mean to be quote unquote righteous? But in the middle of all that, وَآخَرِينَ مِنْهُمْ لَمَا يَلْحَقُونَ وَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ. We got a shout out. The people who live now in the modern world, we got a shout out from the Quran. When Rasulullah SAW talk about, these are reminders, this book is given to you, and then also the people that come after you, follow you, and then whenever we get the shout out like this, it just really brings such emotional feeling to me. The conversation of Hajjatul Wada, when Rasulullah SAW said that it's, you spread my message, even if it's just one ayat, and then perhaps the one who hear it later, who is not present, understand the message more than the one who give the message. Or when he talk about, I wish that I can see my brothers. And then the Sahaba is how, are we not your brothers? Are we not your brothers, Ya Rasulullah? No. You are Antum Sahabi, you are my Sahaba, you are my companions, you are in it with me. My brothers are the one who's not here, who never seen me, and believe in me, and follow me. And we're like brothers in Jannah. I'm just those kind of feelings wow, subhanAllah, these are the path that worth looking for. The path that work keep going for, the path of self-improvement, the path of communal improvement, each on our own hearts and nafs and souls. And it changes the narrative when we recognize that Allah accepts efforts and accepts struggles and accept us if we try. No one else does that in this dunya. No one's to tell you, if you lose everything with the best that you have effort and you come somewhere I need help. It's what have you done? Oh, I've done this, I've done, oh, well, then you should get it together. Nobody can quantify your effort to make it to where you are. The effort of saying La ilaha illallah and what I do with that. It's not something that people see. It's like sometimes, somebody have really great ideas, but they never actually made it. Why might I never get ideas? Or you try your best, and it's like the community doesn't like me, or I try my best, and they're not even listening to me. But you know who's listening? Allah. Allah is listening, and He accepts that effort. Isn't that amazing? Alaysal insanu illa ma sa'a. Like all the human beings will not get anything except their efforts. Jummah is a cultivation of what it looks like when we're not trying. Jummah happens anyway because the structure has been created. That Allah, this is a reminder. If Salat doesn't work, here's a Jummah. That doesn't work, Ramadan's, here it is. That doesn't work, here's Hajj. Allah created framework for community within our deen, within our Islam, within our rituals, that we are asked to do something more. And the more doesn't have to be something extreme. It could just be a couple minutes extra, a couple salats extra, a couple dua extra, a couple smile more, or just a few people that we say salam to and have real conversation with. Getting to know different people around us that we have seen every Jummah. Getting to know their life stories without being rude. Where maybe calm down the whole curiosity, you look different, where you from, but more like, Assalamu alaikum, have you eat? Let's go eat. I want to invite you for lunch. Well, let's go somewhere. You have time? Okay, bismillah, let's go. Now what about weekends? What about next Jummah? I like to just sit down and just eat and have conversation. Expand that. Maybe that's something that you are capable of doing. Something that the Imam and the community couldn't do it. Maybe when I reach out to the community for so long, maybe you are capable of something and Allah's just waiting for that effort to happen. In kuntum ta'lamun, if only you knew. And that is the path of victory, is remembering Allah a lot. What is the better way to remember Allah than remember with our fellow believers and remind each other to have dhikr. Something as simple as alhamdulillah. When you eat with Muslims, how is everything? Alhamdulillah. Right? You don't hear that when you're eating with non-Muslims. Right? I know food so and so, but you say alhamdulillah. I say, what was that? Oh, alhamdulillah is you're explaining that. But maybe that is your da'wah. Right? Perhaps. You don't know. Let's do better. Next Jummah is coming, inshallah. We don't know if we're going to make it. Maybe next Jummah we forget the lesson. We remember now. Let's get one more step in that path. And if you're one of the overachievers, then go extra miles, or 2 or 3, 300s, 3,000s. But then recognize that and then help others to get there too. Whatever you can. But mashallah, may Allah bless us. May Allah bless us in our effort. May Allah bless us in when we fail. May Allah bless us in our struggle, but that we recognize that we worship Allah and we don't worship our efforts. We don't worship our struggles. We don't worship our positions. We don't worship our results. We worship Allah. We ask Allah to make us among the people who say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah bil husnul khatimah fi yawmil qiyamah fi jannatil firdaus al-ula. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to unite us with the best of people who did their best in their efforts. The prophets and the messenger who only have 1 and 2 followers in their ummah. We ask Allah to be among the people and the prophets and the messengers and the righteous in the past who were a nation of their own. That they would stand with nation because they were the only believer of that whole nations. We also ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to ask us to sit down with the people, with all of the ummah of Muhammad in the past and futures and present, that we can stand and we can say, Alhamdulillah, I finally meet my brother. I finally meet all of my brothers, and I finally get to drink from the cups of the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and able to enter Jannah and to have the best time of our life with our family, with the people that we love and the people that we invite to the path of Allah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make every effort that we do sincere, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless every things that we do when we succeed and when we fail. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this community a community that is blessed, that full with love and mercy, and recognize that people have different way to show their efforts. And that may all the paths are encouraged and accepted. And we inna Allaha wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu yusallu alaihi wa sallimu taslima wa aqimus salata yarhamukumullah.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
لا إله إلا الله. استووا صفوفكم. صلاة مودا يرحمكم. Friends, if this is your first time talking to Allah and the last time you're able to do so, صلوا صلاة مودا. استووا صفوفكم. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. والفجر وليال عشر والشفع والوتر والليل إذا يسر هل في ذلك قسم لذي هجر ألم تر كيف فعل ربك بعاد إرم ذات العماد التي لم يخلق مثلها في البلاد وثمود الذين جابوا الصخر بالواد وفرعون ذي الأوتاد الذين طغوا في البلاد فأكثروا فيها الفساد فصب عليهم ربك سوط عذاب إن ربك لذي المرصاد. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. فأما الإنسان إذا ما ابتلاه ربه فأكرمه ونعمه فيقول ربي أكرمن وأما إذا ما ابتلاه فقدر عليه رزقه فيقول ربي أهانن كلا بل لا تكرمون اليتيم ولا تحاضون على طعام المسكين وتأكلون التراث أكلا لما وتحبون المال حبا جما كلا إذا دكت الأرض دكا دكا وجاء ربك والملك صفا صفا وجيء يومئذ بجهنم يومئذ يتذكر الإنسان وأنى له الذكرى يقول يا ليتني قدمت لحياتي فيومئذ لا يعذب عذابه أحد ولا يوثق وثاقه أحد يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. As usual, first thing first, we love the brothers and sisters to pass the donation box around and donate generously. Just welcome up here for your special attention. Our Khatib Imam was Brother Yunus Karisman. Just welcome up here for powerful khutbah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him and his family as always. This Saturday we have the family night. We have a special speaker from Al-Huda, Jerusalem. His name is Ibrahim Khan, and this is something about understanding the youth. If you have a youth, please bring them. The event will be from 5:30 to 9 Saturday evening. When you take exit, please take your time, be patient, and do not honk. Do not park at the Highland Drive, and the children under 5 years to accompany with the parent to pay downstairs. In the hallway, we have the calendar for 2020 still available. You're welcome to check it out. Stop by, and minimum donation $10. Just welcome for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا